everybody is smart at something. We're not all smart at everything, but I can bet you that every individual out there is smarter than anybody at something.
Mm-hmm.
That's just human nature. Or has talent at something. You know, some kids grow up singing. All of Willie Nelson's kids can sing.
Right.
Why? Because they grew up in a home where everybody sang. So they all assume I can sing. So they did. When you grow up believing that you can, as we know, you can.
Live ready, reach higher, chase the sky, beyond thinking, grow rich, you'll learn to fly.
Welcome to Live Ready Podcast, Beyond Think and Grow Rich, with your host, me, David R. Ibarra. And I am so delighted to continue our podcast with the second episode with my friend, Lionel Sosa. Welcome, Lionel.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to still be with you today.
Well, we had a great conversation last week, and so now we're into the second episode, and you have some very, very incredible gifts in art. You ended your career, you retired, you did some community things, and we're going to talk about that at the end, but you decided to start a brand new career as a portrait artist. Tell us about how that came about, how long you've been doing it, and I want to talk about several of your work pieces, shows, and one of them in particularly, it's on the side of a building in San Antonio where people can walk up, push a button, and it'll tell a story about each piece of art that is presented there.
Yes.
Floor is yours, sir.
Well, you know, everybody is born with a gift. Everybody is smart at something. We're not all smart at everything, but I can bet you that every individual out there is smarter than anybody at something.
Mm-hmm.
That's just human nature. Or has talent at something. You know, some kids grow up singing. All of Willie Nelson's kids can sing.
Right.
Why? Because they grew up in a home where everybody sang. So they all assume I can sing. So they did. When you grow up believing that you can, as we know, you can. Oh, everybody sings, I can sing. My dad loved to draw, and I would watch him draw, and he would make these beautiful little Valentine cards for my mom, and with little hearts and all kinds of really, really nice art. I still have them to this day, all of his little romance cards to my mom, even before they were married. And so I assumed that I could draw. And so I grew up drawing on anything that I could, on every piece of paper. I didn't draw on walls because my mom was very strict about that. But every time I had a chance to pick up they had a pencil and a piece of paper, I would draw whatever was in front of me. I would draw people. When I was in school, I would draw on the chalkboard all the Christmas joy, Valentine's, the whole bit. And I got interested in painting signs because my father loved sign painting. In the old days, sign painting was an art.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a sign painter and you were good, you were as good as Michelangelo. That's what my dad thought. And they would use gold leaf and make fancy, beautiful graphics. And there were, all signs were hand-painted at the time. There was no such thing as computers, making banners and stuff like that. If you wanted a sign, you hired a sign painter, and they painted it on your building, on your window, whatever. So whenever my dad would see a sign painter painting a sign, he'd take me out there, look, and we'd actually get a little stool and watch them paint for hours. He says, watch that, look at that. You know, you think Michelangelo is good. These guys are every bit. Of course, they were all Mexicanos, and they were painting all this. So it became ingrained in me that I could draw, and that I should have my work out on buildings as signs. And he encouraged me a lot. I was maybe 9 or 10 years old. There was an old wall in the back of his business, our laundry and cleaners that he had, and he himself started at age 21. So he would paint the wall white and say, start painting letters on this. Do another one more beautiful. Do figures on this one. So I was painting my own murals, and every time I'd finish one, he'd bring the family to see it. We'd have a few beers, and then he'd paint over it again, start again. And I gladly did it, you know, because I was Lionel's an artist, you know, and it got me all kinds of recognition with the family, and they could see it, and I became an artist in the family, you know, an artist at school and everything like that, which then led to graphic arts and then to advertising, because it's all artistic in one way or another. But that's the way, you know, my art career started.
Well, then you started to paint some big, nice pieces. And when did you decide that you were going to go to a canvas?
Well, that happened in the 9th grade.
Oh.
I had a teacher by the name of Elda Burke. This was junior high school. A 1-hour period, which was really 55 minutes, because they gave us 5 minutes to walk from one class to another. And I had, I think it was 4th period art. And Elda Burke did the impossible. She had 36 students, all Mexican kids, coming in, and she taught us oil painting. She had a little palette for us. She had the paints, and we put out the palette, and she had a little brush for us. And I don't know whether the school budget bought the materials or if she did it personally. For I know she might have done it personally. And she would have these little slots in the closet where each one of us would put in our palette with paint and our little brush and a little bit of turpentine. And we came in, and immediately upon coming in, we'd get our little palette. We'd put it out here. Then we had a little table easel. We'd put our little canvas board there, and we'd start painting a copy of something famous. That's the way she said, now this is a Van Gogh. Now paint a Van Gogh. Next week, we're going to paint a Rembrandt. Next week, we're going to paint a Matisse. So she was teaching us to associate different types of art with different great artists already. Picasso, who was still living at the time. And she would tell us these stories about Picasso is so famous around the world, and he's a millionaire, self-made millionaire, and he pays his bills. He takes his family to the restaurant and pays the bill by doing a drawing on a napkin and handed it to the owner, and he pays for 18 of his friends to have a big fancy dinner in Paris. And so she would regale us with these stories of the tortured ones like Van Gogh. So we had stories to associate with each artist. We could recognize the art, and we could paint it. That was invaluable, because it brought forth not only appreciation of fine art, but also a kinship to it that you can only have by knowing the story of the artist and copying his work. She's marvelous. at her deathbed, I was with her.
Wow.
And I was an old man already, but I went and I thanked her. She couldn't move anymore, but when I told her about the effect she had had on me, tears came out of her eyes on her deathbed. She couldn't move, but tears came out of her eyes.
You know, isn't it interesting? We all have somebody in our lives, and this will connect to a story we're going to talk about, in 5-10 minutes. Yes, our kids can, but the way that we change normally is affected by somebody who takes interest and becomes a mentor.
Yes.
In mine, I will never forget it. I often talk about, and in Utah at the time that I was raised in Utah, it wasn't kind to people that were darker, and it's fun. I was darker than my brother. My brother was happy-go-lucky, president of his class. Me, I was being called every name in the a book. But sometimes I remind my friends, don't gain an opinion because one person was taught racism. It doesn't mean everybody is that way. The one person that was the first person that changed my life was my 5th grade teacher, Sam Francis. Second, Robert E. Farrell. A third was earlier on, Isla and Cecil Smith. And a fourth was a guy by the name of Richard Marriott. One gave me a foster home, one gave me the belief, one gave me Think and Grow Rich, and the other loaned me, Mr. Marriott, loaned me the money to buy my first business. And I remind my Latino friends, something they all had in common, all were white. So love is love, joy is joy, and it's not about the color of our skin, but every one of us got that one person that affected us was normally a teacher or a mentor. Tell me, Lionel, how is it that you started to begin to think about that your art was going to be more than a hobby? It was going to be something that you were going to spend your whole day doing.
Well, it was something that's, I guess, is innate in me. I can draw. Some people can't. I can't sing. Most people can. But everybody, as we said before, has a talent, and mine happened to be art, and I just followed it. And once Miss Elder Burke exposed us to the art, then you get interested. You get interested in the lives of these people, where they exhibited, how their work was either rejected or accepted in the big salons of the time. And it becomes a fascination, You grow up wanting to go to the Louvre, and you want to go eat at the same restaurants where Picasso ate and paid his bills by making a drawing on a napkin and things like that. And it becomes a fascination that's kind of in the back of your mind, but when something awakens it, it's there, and you can run with it. For me, art has always been something that I've loved. I love to go to museums. I've got books on so many artists, and I can recognize most work, contemporaries as well as the masters. And I have my favorite artists who are my friends as well. And my wife is she's my favorite artist because she did not do artwork when we met. She was my director of PR, and then a creative director at my agency, and we got married almost 40 years ago. But we learned from each other. And when I was ready to seriously take art lessons, I went to the best portrait artist in the world, and he happened to be in Philadelphia, and he was opening up a school. And this was the first year of Studio Incaminati in Philadelphia, a fellow by the name of Nelson Shanks. He's painted the Pope. He's painted Princess Diana. He's painted Reagan. You name it. Every big personality in the world. And he gets $750,000 for each painting.
Wow. Each painting.
They're big. They're all life-size. And people call him from all over the world. And he's starting a school. Can you imagine that? And he set it up beautifully. He takes 50 students at a time. The school goes on year-round. He has 12 apostles. These are artists that he trained himself that are as good as he, or almost as good, top-notch. And I started taking Kathy with me, and she picked it up out of nowhere. She had never done a piece of art. And now she's the most successful woman artist in San Antonio. She's having a big show in October. I'm looking forward to her first show was at the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
A complete rookie, and the Smithsonian says, come exhibit your work with us. She's that talented.
I've had the pleasure of being invited to stay at a very special place owned by you next to your home, and it's your studio. And downstairs you have a guest room, but upstairs you have her, Kathy, and yours displayed everywhere. So when is it that you decided, okay, I took the lessons, but now I'm going to be an artist full time?
Well, I've never been an artist full time. I'm almost full time, but there's always something else to do, you know. So I spend the majority of my time painting, and I enjoy painting our people, Latinos. And I enjoy painting Latinos who are never recognized and should never be in museums. You know, famous people, they're in museums, college professors, university professors, presidents, senators. And so you go to the National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C., and all the presidents are there and a lot of famous people. But every once in a while, you see a painting in a major museum of a worker. Maybe a black man, maybe a slave. But I had never seen pictures of working Latinos, the hidden heroes of America.
Right.
The people who build our houses, build our fences, the foundations, who do the electrical work, the plumbing work, and actually are building America that may or may not be legal. Many are in fear of their lives every single day.
Right.
Many have children who were born here, but they don't know if they're going to be in Mexico or in San Antonio tomorrow.
Right.
And they live in this fear, but they're still working. And they go to work early, and they don't take breaks, and they work in the heat.
And the pride of work.
Yes. They're up there on those hot tin roofs out there, putting them up in the middle of the sun of San Antonio, 100 degrees. And all they have is their Gatorade, and they're out there working and working and working and building this country. And nobody recognizes them as the heroes they are. Well, that's what I'm painting right now. I am painting America's hidden heroes, men and women of all ages, kids and old people who are the construction workers. And there's character in those people. You can see their determination, and yet their pain in the faces.
Now, that sounds like you're getting prepared for some show.
Well, I'm preparing a series of about 25 paintings right now. And a major museum is very interested in showing them. They want me to have about 20 of them, and they'll say, "Okay, we'll do it." And I'm working about 3 days a week doing that. And while I'm doing a lot of other stuff, I have now a studio that's perfect. Kathy has her own studio in the back. You haven't seen this one yet.
Okay.
It's a brand new one. Huge studio, 40 feet by 25 feet, where she's got all of her things. So we're painting next door to each other, but she has her privacy, and I have mine. And we have a kitchen. It's one of them is a house, which is and there I have a kitchen, a man cave, a bedroom, a workout room, and then plenty of places to paint. And that's the way we spend our days, And we get together for lunch. She'll prepare, or I'll prepare.
Right.
I'll go get some bologna sandwiches or something like that, and we'll stay there until. Okay, wow, what time is it? Mine, it's 7 o'clock already. We've been painting all day. Shall we go home, or shall we just sleep in the bedroom? And sometimes we go home, or sometimes we go get our dogs and they come in and sleep with us, and, we have a good time. But it's perfect life.
There's two things that I want to talk about. One of them is yours, and the other is, I believe it's yours and Kathy's. But let's talk about the first one that we're going to show on screen while you talk about it. But I first was driving in San Antonio and about got into a car accident because I seen these display of like 10, 15, I don't know how many pictures they were of black men. And there was a grandma with a little boy, and she was going to each picture and pushing the button that you had that they had set up that told the story of the individual. Tell me a little bit about that art journey, what it was called, and what motivated it.
Well, this happened right after George Floyd was killed. Just as COVID was starting. The country was shutting down. People were at home watching TV. A fellow by the name of George Floyd in Minneapolis was actually murdered on TV because one young lady held her cell phone while this policeman had his knee on this black man's neck. And he was being suffocated, but the policeman didn't seem to care. And the man was pleading for his life. He couldn't breathe. He was asking for his mother, Mom, I can't breathe. And we all saw it as we were shutting down for COVID. And we were all glued to our TVs wondering how something like that could happen in America today. How a black man could be murdered in plain sight while he was being filmed and he didn't seem to care. That was huge. So I had that on my mind, and I was walking our dogs one morning near the house, and there's this juice bar that I had passed many times and hadn't really noticed it. But there was a poster on the window that said, "You can't be anti-racist unless you're actively anti-racist." And I thought to myself, I've never been actively anti-racist. I think I'm anti-racist. I hope I am. But I've never even been to a Martin Luther King march. I've never been active in that. My brother was very much, but I never was. And that thought continued. It haunted me. How can I be actively anti-racist? At the very time we were doing a transaction in the east side of town, which is mostly black. We owned a home there, and we were selling it, and the fellow who was our realtor was black, an amazing professional, Brandon Logan. And the fellow who bought it, I didn't know him at the time, was a big executive, a senior vice president at Valero Energy. We did the deal. He bought the house. And then after we signed the papers, I said, isn't this hell about what happened with George Floyd? And I said, I just thought about this. I mean, you guys are black. What do you think of it? What do you think of the And one of them, Brandon, says, well, let me tell you about the daily struggle of living in my skin. And I thought, well, we're in San Antonio. We're 65% Latino. We're 7% black, but we've had a woman black mayor. We're not racist, not in San Antonio. We're very accepting of other cultures. Wrong. Every one of them had a story. Every one of them had a story. Some were so suppressed that they hadn't even thought about it since a certain incident had happened to them where they were called out for being black. And they all had these stories that just amazed me because I had never experienced what they had experienced. You know, we think, well, we're Mexican, we suffer discrimination. Never to the extent that a black man does. Black women too, but black men especially. They live in fear of being stopped for a traffic infraction because the chances of them winding up in jail, not just getting a ticket, or being killed are there because they got stopped. So all young men have the talk with their dad, with their mama.
Yes.
This is what happens when a policeman stops you.
Right.
You take out your wallet, you put it on the dashboard, you take out your phone, you keep it, and you record the incident and see how they treat you. And I've never had to have that talk with my kids, you know, but they had story after story after story. And I asked, then I started, my God, who do you talk to about this? Because, we talk about it among ourselves, but we don't really talk about this with white people because we don't want to be perceived as the victims complaining about the way the world is. I said, well, your stories have to be told, man. They've got to be told. What can I do about it? And I told them about the poster. I said, let's do a documentary. Let's find 30 or so people, all ages, all incomes, all influences, from a fellow living under a bridge to a 4-star general here. And all men, young and old. And I said, we'll help you find it. Then the senior VP of Valero says, I think Valero would be interested in sponsoring something like this. So we raised some money, $175,000, Bank of America, Valero, several of my good friends. And we used the money to produce this documentary and for me to take photographs of all of these folks and interview them. And I asked them tough questions like, when was the first time you were called a nigger? They didn't expect the question. And they were all talking to the camera to me. Black background, all of them dressed in a black T-shirt. So all you could see was their black face, but there was a lot of light on it. Very dramatic. And I tell you what, I heard those stories, and some of them brought their wives with them, and the wife would be in the background watching the filming, and they had never even told their wives this story.
Right.
And sometimes men would cry on camera, but I would look back at their wives, and they had all their makeup down their cheeks because they had heard the story from their husbands for the first time they were called a nigger. When was the first time you realized that you were treated differently because of the color of your skin? And they all remembered that first story. And they all had a story. They had all been stopped for traffic by a policeman. And some of them have been hauled off to jail, others not. But we put together this documentary of all of these people talking about us. I got to do something more. I want to paint all of your portraits. So I got busy and I painted the portraits. We went to the local PBS station. They said, yeah, we'll run the documentary during Black History Month. And we called it Living in My Skin.
Living in My Skin. Is that available to
Oh, yeah.
view
You can
through?
go online and you can go to livinginmyskin.com and you'll see the
Okay.
paintings. You'll see.
So you can't go to Netflix or something like that. You go to the livinginmyskin.com.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
So the portrait, we went to the city and to the mayor.
Right.
And he said, if we make a big mural of this, can we find a wall and will you let us put it up? And so find a wall. We'll make sure that it's up. We went to the arts and culture department. They found a wall for us. And we were able to then take these paintings and blow them up, big size, 120 feet long by 12 feet high, 31 faces of 31 men. And the mayor came. They had a big inauguration about it. And it's right next to the fanciest theater in town, the Tobin Arts Center, where all the symphonies play, where all the ballets are, where John Lennon came in to do the opening ceremony for it. I mean, all the big stars come there. And it's right next to it. It is the only mural in San Antonio featuring black people that's not on the east side of town where all the black people are.
Right.
It's right in the middle of downtown San Antonio. And I'm very proud of it because it's never been messed with.
Right.
Nobody. You know, people tag a mural and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
Nobody's touched it.
one, what an incredible story. And America, just like any nation on earth, just like any human being on earth, we are known for some just absolutely incredible things. And we're also known for some very, very embarrassing to me things and hateful things. But the one thing, and even right now where we have a lot of issues having to do with our community and name calling and what have you, and there is some that are fine with talking the way that they were stuffed 40, 50 years ago. I still have faith that America will be America again, and we'll pass this. And the one thing that we're going to do, Lionel, and any listener, and you can blast me, whatever, this next several years will prove that America cannot be the economic power it is without our neighbors to the south and labor. We have 350 million population, small. We can't grow without labor. It was Friedman in the next 100 years that said there will be a day, the only thing that will hold us back is labor, that we will be advertising to Mexico for immigration correctly. And everybody agrees that we should have proper immigration. It's solutions to the immigration problem. It's often said that solutions go to Washington to die.
Exactly.
Because the politicians want it separated.
Yeah.
But we'll find our way again. We'll find our way
I
again.
hope so. We are
Yeah.
in a bad way right now.
Certainly.
I no longer call myself a Republican. The minute in 2015, when Donald Trump announced that he was going to be president, I've always been a Republican.
Yeah.
And he stood at the top of those stairs in the Trump Tower and he said, Mexicans are murderers and rapists.
Yeah. Well,
That was the end of it for me.
you know, I like you as I get a call from the Democrats and wanting this and screaming and yelling and I'll fight for you. I don't want anybody to fight. I want people to serve and I consider myself an independent as well. But let's move to a better subject. The subject that we're going to end with. You started a effort, like so many things that you do. Wait a minute, I forgot something. I got to touch base on the River Walk project that Kathy and you did. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, this is Kathy.
Kathy,
This is not
okay,
me. I mean,
okay.
I helped her,
Right.
but she is the one we have a beautiful river walk in San Antonio,
Right.
and we're known worldwide for it. But what many people don't know is that we also have another. It's a creek. It's not a river, but it's almost the same size as a river walk, and it's called the San Pedro Creek, that had been underground for as long as anybody can remember. And it was the dividing line between the west side of town, where all the poor people, including all the Latinos, lived, and the other side of town, where the wealthy people lived. San Pedro Creek was the dividing line. So Nelson Wolf, who was a county judge at the time, said, I'm going to revive that and make it into another river walk, but instead of it having bars and cafes, it's going to have art on both sides, and it's going to go as far north as I can make it and as far south as all of the missions of San. So it's 13 miles long. It's beautiful. It's got art everywhere. One of the main murals is one that when the city put out a request for proposal, she immediately said, I want to do it. I want to do it.
Right.
I want to tell the story of San Pedro Creek, its beginnings, its middle story, and the end, that it's now the place that brings people together instead of separates the city. And she did a lot of research, and we had less than a year to complete the whole thing, not just do the painting, but also to turn it into tile, and also have somebody actually place it as 3 different panels, 14 feet high by 28 feet each, 5 different panels all lit up and so forth in porcelain tile.
It is absolutely stunning. And I had the honor of visiting you while Kathy was busy at work creating them. And telling the tiles tell the story of the time and the evolution of its people.
Of not only the creek, but of all of San Antonio, the way that the Indians were there all by themselves, and the wild animals and the fish in the in the creek.
History
and so
is so important to hear, good and bad.
Yeah.
Exactly the way it happened, so that we can understand. We as people can do some incredibly bad things, but we're capable of doing the extraordinary things. And we're a little dose of both. And when we recognize both, we'll gravitate to the one that's positive. Now let's move to Yes, Our Kids Can. Lionel, what caused you to determine that you were going to get into the San Antonio School District and begin to create a positive state of mind in every child at its earliest thought?
Imagine if you could have learned the principles of success as a child. At Yes, Our Kids Can, we believe it's never too early to teach our children how to achieve their full potential. The purposeful tools of Yes, Our Kids Can are designed to teach resilience, self-efficacy, problem solving, character building, and life planning. You can help your child develop the skills needed for a successful and independent adult life. All you have to do is enroll your child today. It happened when I got a call from from Harvard University, the Institute of Politics. And they said, Lionel, would you be interested in teaching a course at Harvard? How could I teach a course at Harvard? I never went to college. Not only did I not graduate from college, but I have never taken a college class in my life. There's no way that I'm qualified. He says, well, this is a separate program. It's a fellowship at the Institute of Politics where kids want to know something that the university does not teach. And they don't get credit for it, but we've got a group of 12 kids that have a question that they know and that we don't know the answer to. I said, what is the question? Why is it that some of the poorest kids in the country, mostly from farm workers in California that are illegal are not only attending Harvard, but are succeeding at Harvard. How did that happen? I said, I have no idea. But why don't we use the semester to interview these kids, and together with the students, we'll come up with the findings. And we thought, man, that's going to be probably a very, very complicated question to answer. How can the poorest of the poor be so successful at Harvard right now? And we interviewed those 18 kids. And it took us most of the summer interviewing them. It was a 3-hour class from 4 to 7 every Thursday. And we would just talk to them one at a time, 2 at a time, and so forth. And they all had the same story. Somebody told me I would. When I was a kid, somebody told me I'd be at Harvard. Specifically at Harvard, not at another. And some people say, kid would say, when I was in the 4th grade, a teacher told me, you're smart. You will go to college and it'll be Harvard. I will help you and don't worry about the money.
Wow.
We'll find it. But you're going to go to Harvard and I'm going to help you.
Wow.
As you were talking about a mentor, you're needing a mentor, you need somebody to tell you that you can do it. Same thing as whatever your mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Once a kid said, oh, I'm going to go to Harvard, okay. Didn't make any difference that he had no money, that his parents were illegal or nothing. That thought was already in their head. And they all had the same story. It wasn't always the 5th grade teacher. Sometimes it was the 8th grade teacher. Sometimes it was the 3rd grade teacher. Sometimes it was grandma. Sometimes it was mom and dad that said, you're not going to work in the fields like me. You're going to go to Harvard. And there they were. Wow. What if every poor kid heard this lesson every day? And then you came along. That's when we started working together. And we were able, through your help, to make it into an all-line thing on phones and computers where kids would see these jingles, these games, these place cards, these messages over and over and over and over again, where every morning they would recite these songs. One of them, which I consider to be the main song, was I will go to college, I will get a degree, I will be successful because I believe in school. I will stay in because I believe in me.
Yes.
I will stay in school, nothing will stop me. I will prove it to the world. You will say, pam, pam. I will go to college, I will get a degree. And these kids were reciting this every morning
and
along.
stamping their feet.
Yes. All together as a group.
Yes.
Individually, then with their parents, they would start going home and telling their parents, I'm going to Harvard. And the parents would say, what the hell's Harvard? You know, because the poorer you are, the less you're able to plan. And if you can't plan whether you're going to have a meal or a job the next day, you certainly cannot plan about going to any college.
You built cartoon characters. You built songs. You have ebooks. You had 22 games you can play on your phone, puzzles, things like that. Everybody special in their own special way.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
the kids just screaming it to their lungs.
Yes,
and creating from their earliest thoughts to believe.
Yes, to believe.
To believe.
To believe. This is a version of Think and Grow Rich starting at age 4.
Yeah.
If a kid can believe, he can achieve.
Yeah.
So all we have to do is almost too simple. Is teach kids to believe early.
Lionel, you know, I love the program. And so one of our friends told me, David, you're not going to believe this. I said, what's that? New baby comes home in the crib. My wife puts on the songs and plays it every day. The baby's 2 months old.
Are you kidding me? Really?
I go to bed, and there's my son, who's 2, standing at the crib, singing to the infant. Everybody's special in their own special way. And it popped in my head. No, from their earliest thought. Wow. Their earliest thought. That family is a goal-setting, non-drifting, score-keeping family. Now, you got it in the San Antonio School District. How many people were in the program? How many students were on Yes, Our Kids Can at any given time?
At the peak, it was 10,000 students and 7,000 parents. Because not every parent buys in on it. They say, well, the teacher's teaching that. If my kid, low expectations is the worst thing that can happen. And the poorer you are, the lower your expectations are. We interviewed moms of people on welfare with kids.
Yes.
Where are kids going to be when they're, say, 18 years old? And they would say, I don't know. It was like, what kind of a question is that? They would then suddenly, because that's the first time they had thought of it.
Yeah.
Anybody had asked them that question. So they would say things like, well, as long as he doesn't join a gang, I'm okay. As long as he doesn't get a girl pregnant, I'm okay.
Yeah.
So those are, how much do you think he's going to earn? Well, he's going to earn at least minimum wage, and I hope a little bit more.
Yeah.
If he makes $15 an hour, I'd be so happy.
Minimum expectations in the subconscious creates minimum expectations. But Lionel, I want to fast forward a little bit and thank you for entrusting Live Ready Institute to take what you built, you, Kathy, and your group, and to pass it to us to find a way to get it in every household. We are going to go from parents teaching their children. There's not a parent that doesn't want their children to have more. And so you're going to see more of that, the folks listening, in the Live Ready Institute, and it's Live Ready Kids Beyond, or Live Ready Kids, Yes, Our Kids Can. And Lionel, I thank you so much for entrusting me to take that on for its next step.
David, there could be no better guardian, because you understand the program, you understand what it's based on, you understand how it works because you helped us build it. You were there in San Antonio with your people helping us build this program. And if it wasn't for you, this program would not exist. So I thank you.
You gave it the spark, and maybe I lit the fire a little bit more.
You made it happen. You made it happen.
I'll tell you, this has been a real fun. We are partners. Yeah. This is a real fun. I could go on and on. I want to end with one last thing. I want to share with the folks that are listening. Lionel, you're in your fourth quarter. I'm in mine. I have no...
Third quarter. You're still in your third quarter.
At 74 years old.
88 here.
88 years old. The fourth quarter of our lives really matter the most, because it's the quarter in which you've gathered some things, and now you must figure out how to share.
Yeah.
And both of us are on the mission to do just that.
Yeah.
Lionel is spending the next 2 days with me on a project where we're going to edit his fourth chapter in the next book that is called The Power to Think, The Power to Rise, 5 Men, 5 Arenas, 1 Purpose. Well, we'll tell our 4 quarters of our lives and talk about and show, hopefully, our youth what it means to be a man, the responsibility to be a man. Now, there's women's stories, and they're beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
But we can't exclude our young men. And
no, we can't, because every you see the difference in a father that's born to be a father and is there for his children, and then you see fathers that don't know how to be fathers. They would like to be good fathers, but they don't know how. Maybe there was some love missing in their lives. Maybe there was some hugging that was missing. Maybe there was something else that they didn't get, so that they don't know how to be a father. And that's very sad. And I think that having a responsible, successful man working closely with his partner is the best thing there could ever be for any young man, that we get them on the right track early. Because if they get on the right track early and they learn the proper values and they get the proper messages, they will all be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Lionel, that will conclude episode number 2. And I want to thank you for coming on the program. And me and you better exit and go get to work on the power to think, the power to rise.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Thank you.
Thank you, David, for this privilege.
Live ready, reach higher, chase the sky. Beyond thinking, grow rich, you'll learn to fly. With every step forward,